How stiff of a challenge is it against this Eagles defense?
I've played against teams that are really good against the run. Like creative coordinators can put their teams in good position. Bills actually utilized that last week. Joe Brady did a great job.
I think I might know why the Buffalo Bills are calling up Andy Isabella and Jamarcus Ingram versus the Eagles. A lot of Bills Mafia is assuming that they are not going to partake in this game, but this infographic I put together here might give you more reasoning why both of these players and their skill sets have been called up. And we can clearly see the measurables here for the base defense for the Philadelphia Eagles, and just take a look at how stout they are. Even their defensive ends, really, other than Hassan Reddick. Hassan Reddick is that speedy edge rusher for the Philadelphia Eagles who currently ranks 12th best in the NFL behind our guy Leonard Floyd, who ranks 8th, but currently 8.5 sacks total for Hassan Reddick. Let me remind you, Hassan Reddick and Dion Dawkins were teammates back in college, so we know Dawkins definitely has some insight into Reddick. Now, Reddick does line up over Spencer Brown, but just again, take a look at how stout this Philadelphia Eagles front four is. The Eagles rely on these players to hold up offensive linemen to allow their speedy linebackers to fly around and make plays. And we can see Zach Cunningham, Nicholas Morrow, and also Nolan Smith getting involved here and how fast they really are, especially Nolan Smith. In their base defense, I think the Bills have enough weapons offensively to get them at least a nickel, but why we brought up Andy Isabella could very well be to try to get them out of this base defense. Brandon Graham at 6'2", 265 pounds. Low leverage wins, and he's that heavy. I mean, that's tough moving Brandon Graham off the ball. Josh Sweat at 6'5", 265. These are some big boy defensive ends. Jordan Davis, as well as Jalen Carter, teammates of James Cook back at Georgia, and James Cook even admitted that he knows their tendencies, which is a great sign to see. And how could we forget Fletcher Cox at 6'4", 310 pounds, but 6'6", 336, 6'4", 310, 6'3", 314, and you consider the rest of this defensive line shows you how stout they really are. Philadelphia Eagles are blitzing the 10th fewest in the NFL, you could see, at only a 22.4% rate. They are really relying on their front four to solidify things to allow their linebackers to fly around and make plays. And furthermore, we could take a look statistically at the Philadelphia Eagles defensive stats, and we can clearly see they are much better at stopping the run versus the pass. Another reason why Joe Brady could be brewing up some Andy Isabella versus the Eagles here is because the Philadelphia's struggle against the pass. Philadelphia Eagles ranks 12th best in opponent yards per rush, but they are first in rushes per game and also first in rushes yards allowed per game at only 76.5. Opponent rushing touchdowns per game is only at a 0.3, and that is first in the NFL. I think that might have something to do with their stout front four. And some more good news here for the Bills is that Milton Williams is out for this game, who is also a pretty stout player, but he's 6'3", 290 pounds. Derek Barnett was just released this week by the Philadelphia Eagles, who stands at 6'3", 259 pounds. The Eagles are coming off a short week after playing Monday night. They are coming off the first game without having Derek Barnett, as well as Milton Williams being injured and out for this game. And the stats don't lie. Again, first in a lot of categories against the run, but what happens when we take a look at their pass defense? They drop like a rock. Opponent pass play percentage is 32nd in the NFL. Opponents are passing the ball more than any other team in the NFL against the Eagles. And I wonder why. It's because of their deficiencies. They are blowing up offensively. I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs last week had a ton of wide open wide receivers, but a lot of drops, a lot of blown coverages by this pass defense in the Eagles. Opponent completion percentage, they are 17th in the NFL. Opponent yards per pass, they are 9th in the NFL. Opponent passes per game, again, 32nd in the NFL. Opponent pass yards allowed allowed per game. They are 28th in the NFL, allowing 248.1 yards per game. Opponent interceptions thrown, they are not intercepting the ball. They are 31st in the NFL. Even their sack percentage is only 18th in the NFL. So far this season, the games that really Josh Allen has struggled at is games which teams have really blitzed and had a lot of disguised coverages. The Philadelphia Eagles are not blitzing. They call a lot of man coverage, and I think this suits Josh Allen's game very, very well. In all the flack that Josh Allen has gotten this year with the turnovers and interceptions, Josh Allen has only thrown 3 more interceptions than Jalen Hurts, but he scored 5 more total touchdowns. Even with Josh Allen throwing 3 more interceptions than Jalen Hurts, we could see the NFL turnover differential. The Buffalo Bills have a better turnover differential than the Philadelphia Eagles, believe it or not, considering all the turnovers that the Bills have had, especially in every single one of our losses, mind you, that have been only within 5 points or 1 possession, which is absolutely remarkable. The Philadelphia Eagles are actually worse in the turnover differential department. The Bills currently stand at a 0 turnover diff, whereas the Philadelphia Eagles are at -1. The Bills have given up the ball 19 times, and our defense has 19 takeaways, whereas the Philadelphia Eagles have 13 takeaways, but they have given up the ball 14 times. This shows you the Bills' defense has more takeaways, thus proving more of a reason to pass the ball against the Eagles and possibly use Andy Isabella. More we can expose this Philadelphia secondary, and let me remind you, Darius Slay for Stephon Diggs, they went at it in Minnesota and Detroit for a very long time. Diggs knows exactly what he's up against with Darius Slay. Sean McDermott drafted James Bradbury while he was in Carolina. He knows James Bradbury's deficiencies. Bradley Roby and Josh Joby, these guys have really gotten burned. They've just been in poor positions, and really teams have taken advantage of that. So if the Bills can go with a 4 wide receiver set, spread offense versus the Philadelphia Eagles, take them out of their base defense with that stout front 4, this seems to suit the Buffalo Bills the best. And I think Brady's got it brewing. Kevin Byard and the Eagles have been calling a lot of man, and he matches up a lot on opposing tight ends, something that we saw last week versus Travis Kelce. At 5'11", 212 pounds, he's going to be looking to get matched up against Dalton Kincaid. Kevin Byard is one of the best safeties in the NFL, and I don't know how much we like this matchup against Dalton Kincaid. Yes, Dalton Kincaid has the size and measurables against him, but Kincaid is a rookie going against an extreme great veteran. We're familiar with Byard because of all the games that we've played the Tennessee Titans throughout the years in the McDermott era. Clearly know what he is fully capable of. At 5'9", 188 pounds, the shifty, speedy wide receiver Andy Isabella could definitely show and impact this game. But it's about adjustments during the game, and that's what makes Joe Brady so good. Being prepared for what the Philadelphia Eagles can present against our offense. Joe Brady has everything at his disposal to mix and match throughout this game. I love the fact that James Cook has gone against Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, even Nolan Smith at Georgia.
You got a great defensive line. Once you get it, you just got to go. I played something with some of them guys, so I kind of know their tendencies and what they do. So I'm going to be ready to play.
And even admitting that he knows their tendencies, he's not going to be afraid going against these supreme athletes. But the fact is, if that does not work, we have the disposal during this game to go into some 4 wide receiver sets. We could even test out Dalton Kincaid versus Kevin Byard and see if that is how they're going to match up. If not, then we could start testing Dalton Kincaid during the game. But it's about mixing and matching, the chess piece of the NFL. Now for Jamarcus Ingram, a lot of Bills Mafia is assuming that he's just a depth piece because of the injuries to Taylor Rapp, also the injury to Dane Jackson, who are both going to be out for this game, in which really flushes down the toilet the Buffalo Bills dime package. Rotating Jordan Poyer in at that linebacker position is going to be a little bit trickier to do, especially when we have injuries here to Cam Lewis as well. At times we've seen Siran Neal fill in to also be a nickel corner for the Buffalo Bills, and I'm assuming that he is going to be there, especially if the Eagles come out with their own 4 wide receiver set. Chris Brown and Greg Cassell spoke about it last week versus the Kansas City Chiefs. The Philadelphia Eagles did deploy a 4 wide receiver set, and I think it was mainly because of all the blitzing going on by Steve Spagano. We saw Trent McDuffie get 2 sacks during that game. So why would tall, long, physical corners be good for the Buffalo Bills this game? Well, how about A.J. Brown and also Julio Jones? A.J. Brown at 6'1", 226 pounds, clearly a physical type wide receiver for the Eagles, as well as Julio Jones. Julio Jones at 6'3", 220 pounds, can win those high ball jump point situations for the Eagles. And let's not forget, Dallas Goedert is out for the Eagles this game. Dallas Goedert at 6'5", 256 pounds, being out for the Philadelphia Eagles is forcing the Eagles to deploy a different offense that we've normally seen, and it really is a 4 wide receiver set. Now, Quiz Watkins is coming back and is said to be starting for the Philadelphia Eagles this week, and he is a shifty slot wide receiver at 6 foot, 193 pounds. Let's not forget, Devonta Smith can play on the outside. He could also play on the inside at slot at 6 foot, 170 pounds as a shifty, speedy wide receiver. Britton Covey at 5 foot 8, 173 pounds, that Smurf-like wide receiver similar to Andy Isabella. Monday Salachus at 5 foot 8, 193 pounds, again speedy slot wide receiver skill set. Rasul Douglas matched up against A.J. Brown or Julio Jones at 6 foot 2 is a great matchup for Bills Mafia. He's got the length to win those high point jump ball situations. Again, Jamarcus Ingram at 6 foot 2, 190 pounds, a tall, long corner that could very well see the field this week. In recent weeks, the Bills have proved that we are able to stop the run. Against Breece Hall and the New York Jets, they were only able to muster 63 yards, probably because of the addition of Linval Joseph going against his former team in the Philadelphia Eagles this week. The Bills versus the Bengals with Joe Burrow and Joe Mixon, we could see they only had 54 rushing yards. Nick Sirianni, the head coach and offensive mind for the Philadelphia Eagles, really understands the Buffalo Bills and what we've been able to do, and I think he understands that Linval Joseph is here, that we have the players to stop the run, and it might be wise to come out in another 4 wide receiver set against the Buffalo Bills, especially not having Dallas Goedert. DeAndre Swift is a great running back, but the Buffalo Bills have proved that we can come out in a base defense with Terrell Bernard, Tyrell Dodson, and Dorian Williams and stop the run. And same thing for Sean McDermott and Joe Brady. Looking at the Philadelphia Eagles, stats prove that Philadelphia is great against the run, and you cannot forget about the measurables, how big and strong they are up front, which would make more sense to deploy a 4 wide receiver set and utilize more wide receivers such as Andy Isabella. Without having Taylor Rapp, I don't think the Bills are going to be using that unique dime package with Jordan Poyer at that linebacker position. I'm expecting players like Siran Neal, Cam Lewis, Taron Johnson to hold down that nickel slot cornerback position for the Buffalo Bills if the Eagles do decide to deploy the 4 wide receivers. Now, Dorian Williams is fast, running a 4.4940, extremely fast linebacker, coverage type linebacker. So maybe Sean McDermott has some interesting plays here to dial up against his former team in the Eagles, learning from Jim Johnson, who is known to be one of the most blitzing style defensive coordinators in the NFL. Rasul Douglas and also Jamarcus Ingram being tall, long, physical corners going against A.J. Brown and Julio Jones. This is about matchups. This is about having what we need to win versus the Eagles. Well, I thought I'd consolidate all these stats and measurables together with the Bills versus Eagles matchup here. Hope you guys truly enjoyed this video. If you did and want to support my efforts, please hit like and subscribe for future content, as well as check the link in the description. The Buffalo Chicken Wing merch. We have t-shirts, we have long sleeve, we have hoodies, we have blue, we have red, we have black, we have gray. Free shipping too as well. But I appreciate you guys, and go Bills.